hurricane.
Yeah, this is honestly a very scary situation, especially for anybody that had decided to stay on the coastline and ride this thing out. Hopefully, none of the viewers are one of those people, but if you are, um, get ready to hunker down.
Oh yeah, because this thing is as I've well, as I'm pretty sure everyone would agree, Harvey has been flexing his muscles, and he is now getting ready to, well, unfortunately, be given the chance to show what he's really capable of producing. Which, to be honest, it's going to be absolute hell, and I mean absolute hell on the coast, because Category 3, that would be as I said towards the start, that's the last thing folk on the Gulf Coast wanted to hear, and even storm trackers as well. That's the last thing folk wanted to hear as a major hurricane heading towards the Gulf Coast and potentially ending the major hurricane drought. But you know, regardless of it, it is pretty dire, the situation now. So, and it is only going to get worse.
Indeed, things just beginning here. We would rather wish that wasn't the case. But hey, Harvey moving ever closer towards the coast right now as we tick over into the next hour. It's now 10 p.m. UTC. Over in Texas, the current time is 5 p.m. Central. Here's the latest radar imagery, and we'll just update that again with the little hiccup, and the storm moving towards the northwest. Is that a large tornado warning that's just appeared over that whole general area that we're expecting landfall? Just confirm that here.
Let me just see, because I'm GR level 3, I'll just need to update.
If not, it's some sort of warning.
Is it blue, or is it amber?
No, it's not a tornado warning, it's...
I'd imagine it'd probably be special marine if it's in amber, if you're using National Weather Service.
It is amber, but it's offshore and onshore as well, so that's...
Yeah, there'll be special marine warning.
Yeah, it is orange. I was struggling to check what colour it was there. It does look almost as red as the tornado warning was earlier.
Yeah, tornado warnings on the National Weather Service are red, yellow.
But it continues to not look good, and do you think it's slowing down?
Oof.
It might.
It might be, but it's hard to tell, especially on radar.
Does anyone happen to have any webcams available that you could possibly share?
Not at this moment, no.
Oh man, that sucks. Well, either way, the situation with Harvey, it just increasingly it's looking like it's becoming worse and worse as we keep on approaching towards landfall. I'm not sure if it's going to. I'm not sure if it's going to get to Category 4, but either way, it's only a 5-mile-per-hour difference, and
exactly.
Even if it doesn't reach Category 4 status, you're still very close to it. So expect about the same amount of damage to your homes and areas that are around that region. This is only the beginning, and once the eye wall begins to push into the coast, it's not going to be pretty.
No, it's going to get very, very ugly and very, very quick. But you know, as said, it's downhill from here.
When do we think landfall will be at this point, and is this thing going to slow down and stall right on the shore?
Looking at it, it's I probably would need another update from GO 16, and it does stutter in terms of frame rate, but that just could be my laptop just being stupid. But it could be literally less than an hour now or if not, an hour away.
Well, until the eye wall makes landfall, that is.
Yeah.
The inner eye wall, that is. The outer eye wall is what I might call it, has already reached the coast, it would appear, and you can just see that big bulk of cloud. Very high cloud tops moving inland there.
Let's just look at the.
Cesar, are you still with us?
Yes, fortunately.
I thought you were going to end up saying unfortunately. God.
Changes to the storm, do you think there are any right now, and what do you think of its eye structure?
Well, talking about its eye structure, I must say it doesn't look bad. Actually, for me, it's still looking pretty and actually even better than before. And still actually it's getting more clear at every frame. After new frame, the storm looks even better. It's not weakening. It's really surprising.
Because you would expect a storm this close to land to normally at least start dropping a few categories around there, at least start losing the eye wall if it was a hurricane.
Normally, a hurricane, when it gets near the landfall, starts to lose its structure itself. But Harvey did completely the opposite.
Yeah, it gained structure rather than losing.
Yeah, it's basically making landfall near peak.
Harvey will make landfall at peak intensity for sure, and I'm pretty sure that it's a possibility, but at these rates, I think it will be a category 4. I don't discard it. It's moving 10 miles per hour to the northwest, I believe, and it's about 60 miles from Corpus Christi. Well, southeast.
Yeah, less than that now, about 50. The eye is 50 miles.
50, so that means that the eye itself, it's about 5 hours or less to make
much less.
Well,
you would think much less unless it slows down in forward motion, which it might be doing in those latest frames.
Recon just found even more major hurricane force winds on the northeastern quadrant of Harvey.
Wow.
So, and now going to go into the southwestern quadrant of the storm and probably do a western quadrant investigation. So the question now is on this pass, and they might do another drop zone. I'm not too sure. They might not, but it's going to be the telling moment. Has this thing become Cat 4? But regardless of it, as Orlando said, it's only a 5 mile per hour difference, and you're probably going to get the same amount of damage. If it were to become 130 miles an hour, it probably would still have the same damage as a high end 3. So.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, but I've noticed I just opened up a webcam in South Padre Island, and I'm seeing people walking on the beach.
Oh,
well,
dear God.
Oh my God.
They obviously do not know what's coming. They obviously don't.
They probably do.
But you get them folk that are ignorant to it and just don't listen. That's the sad thing. That really is the sad thing. You get them folk that are ignorant and think, we're gonna be fine. We aren't gonna get hit by it. But
It's sad.
It's sad to say that you do get them folk, unfortunately.
There's a new updated frame on the radar imagery, and the eye wall, the western eye wall, is just
Ramping
a
up.
huge. I run out of superlatives.
Now you know when Nathan is speechless and runs out of words to describe the western eye wall.
Well, I hope you don't live there, is all I can say to anyone.
Yes.
Along the coast.
I would agree. If you do, I hope you have evacuated, because regardless of build quality, I don't think any building would withstand.
Some buildings. I mean, it's not a Category 5 after all, but it's
sure
still
it is.
going to be very, most private dwellings won't do very well in this, you would think.
No. But regardless of it, you would
they
expect
found-
major damage.
They found flight level winds just above 115 knots.
What? 15 or 50?
15.
Yeah,
15.
that's nothing new really, because Craig found 130 not long ago.
Yeah, just to reiterate with that was a 10-second sustained gust at flight level.
You can't have a
It's
sustained
still pretty
gust.
strong.
You get what I mean.
10-second sustained winds, as simple as that. I mean, a gust you could say is a
Yeah.
half a second peak sustained wind, but never mind that.
Half a second, but you get what I mean anyway. So, moving on.
Sure. The eye diameter right now, what do you reckon? Something like 20 miles? Maybe a bit less actually. 15 miles.
15 or 20.
15
yeah,
to
15.
20.
15 to 20, I think, would be a fair estimate.
No, it probably is 20 actually, because the eye wall, when we put it into context, is maybe 15 to 20 miles away from Corpus Christi. So if you sort of judge that there on the imagery, just using your eyes, you'll see it's probably around the same for the eye diameter. But again, there's a close-up of the radar, and that's what we'll show for the time being. Unless any of you guys want to show something on your pictures that you've got. But if you've got any questions for us whilst we're on the air, I'm here for another just less than 2 hours until I leave, and David will take over at his discretion. I've no idea what the content of that will be, but he will be here to take any further questions after 7 p.m. Central Time. But in the meantime, we're all watching here Hurricane Harvey on its final push towards its landfall. Cesar.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some footages live of Corpus Christi to show you, of course, to see how the weather has been getting worse. Of course, because of this approach of Harvey. Fortunately, I don't have it. Well. Talking back to the storm and watching the radar imagery that is right now on the screen, I must say that practically Corpus Christi is pretty close to feel its first hurricane force winds, maybe the next hour.
Yeah, not been confirmed yet of any hurricane force winds over there, but it's getting close. What was it, the last one? At the last National Hurricane Center advisory, they said that the winds that had been recorded were 67 miles per hour on land. So that's the highest sustained wind officially that we've got so far. The warning that was actually out is an extreme wind warning, Craig, for obvious reasons in those areas. So, just in case it wasn't obvious, an extreme wind warning is in effect for southwestern Calhoun County, Aransas County, east central Nueces County, eastern San Patricio County, and central Refugio County until 7 p.m. Central Time. The Doppler radar indicated extreme winds associated with the eye wall of Hurricane Harvey were moving onshore, 17 miles east of Key Allegro or 18 miles east of Rockport, moving northwest at 25 miles an hour. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. Widespread destructive winds of between 115 and 145 miles an hour will spread across Calhoun County, Aransas County, Nueces County, San Patricio County, Refugio County, producing swathes of tornado-like damage. Take cover now, they're saying, for those areas, and a tornado watch as well. So basically, if you hadn't taken cover already because of the eye wall of this storm approaching, if you are in that area somehow watching this stream, then now is the time to be in your safest areas of wherever you are.
Yes, your safest area.
Sounds like it's windy somewhere.
either the safest area of your home or even the refugees shelter that you are in. But if you obviously have got shelter, please make sure that you are away from all doors and windows if you are riding this out in your own home. And well, very much from me, I wish you all the best. Wish everyone on the Gulf Coast the very best of luck, and hope that everyone gets to Harvey okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it seems quite certain now by looking at radar imagery that the storm is most likely going to make landfall just north of Corpus Christi.
Yeah, just to the north, and not by much. It's very, very close.
Yeah. I might go over it, but I mean, like the very exact center would just be just to the bit north.
So the latest right now, by the way, just in case you wanted to know, as you can see on this imagery here, but I'll just read out what the warnings are, just in case you weren't aware. A storm surge warning is in effect for Port Mansfield to High Island, Texas. A hurricane warning for Port Mansfield to Sargent, Texas. A tropical storm warning for north of Sargent to High Island, Texas. As for rainfall, we expect total rain accumulations of 15 to 30 inches and isolated maximum amounts of 40 inches over the middle and upper Texas coast through next Wednesday. 40 inches is over 3 feet. During the same time period, Harvey is expected to produce total rain accumulations of 5 to 15 inches in far south Texas and the Texas Hill Country over to the southwest and central Louisiana region. Rainfall of this magnitude will cause catastrophic and life-threatening flooding. The storm surge is expected to be between 6 and 12 feet for the north entrance Padre Island National Seashore to Sargent. Sargent to Jamaica Beach 5 to 8 feet. Port Mansfield to Padre Island 3 to 5 feet. Jamaica Beach to High Island 2 to 4 feet. Mouth of the Rio Grande to Port Mansfield 1 to 3 feet. Same for High Island to Morgan City. And as we've seen already, there was one confirmed tornado earlier, which struck in the Galveston area. That's
almost like,
yeah, that's one confirmed tornado so far. Let's take you back to actually the visible imagery and see what we've got. Craig, what are your thoughts, if any new thoughts on this right now?
It's getting better. Yeah, it's getting clearer and clearer and getting more defined.
We'll find some more new images shortly. In the meantime, I don't know whether Marcel might want to say anything.
I am here.
Okay. Anything else?
I guess that's it then.
Marcel's letting us know that he is here.
That was Marcel, everybody.
And we'll also bring you up to speed with some more imagery shortly. I was hoping Marcel would help me out briefly by telling us something interesting for a moment or two, but it appears not, whilst I load up some more new imagery like this. Let's get the...
I think there's a possibility that this thing could be, by looking at the most recent pass, this thing can be 130 miles per hour.
Let's take a look at the latest frame and see what the eye temperature is right now. And look at the eye wall, which has been developing on the western side. It's still intensifying, by the way. Current eye temperature around 11 degrees now, unless I can find a warmer area. 12 degrees. So staying around the same, but crucially, the eye wall has grown in that time. And I would suggest at this point, guys, that this might be 130 miles an hour.
Yeah, it could be a Category 4 now.
I'm pretty agree with that.
I've checked the flight level winds, and basically tried doing my own method. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I subtracted by 10 miles per hour, and it's managed to get to 130 miles per hour.
Yeah, going off of recon, what I'm seeing in the last pass, it could support Category 4 in, well, at least 130 miles an hour, so, you know.
Yeah, I think although I don't think it's official yet.
No,
I
it's not
think
official yet, no.
it's safe to say that this is going, might landfall just in, not landfall, the winds are going to be 130 miles per hour, which makes it a minimum Category 4 hurricane.
Yeah.
All we have to do now is just wait and see the NHC, what the NHC is going to say.
Yeah, because I'd imagine...
Any news from the recon flights? Or are they done?
Yeah, that was... Yeah, no,
well, Jason posted with us that the recon still finding 940 millibars.
940.5.
That's right.
That's what they just got. Anything to do with the wind speeds? Have they got any higher wind speeds?
Let me have a check with that. I don't think they have found stronger winds. If anybody else has recon data before me, please do it.
Well, recon did find more major hurricane force winds on the western side, so this thing could be a Category 4 hurricane. Not saying it's not official yet, but it could be.
Yeah, well, yeah, it could be.
The worst part about all of this is it's just still deepening, and it's not stopping either.
No, that's the thing that's really worrying me, is that how low could this thing really get before landfall, obviously. Because if it's at 940, it could go right down into the 930s before landfall.
I don't know about going. It could go easily down to the 930. I don't know if it's going to go. I think the farthest it can go down would be the mid 930s.
Well, the fact is that we're even talking about things like that. But there we are. I don't think it will go down too much more. I think this could be around the time that it peaks here, and I think it's peaking as a minimal Category 4, not official, but there we go. And let's see if we can just take another quick look as we move further to the northeast. Imagery will take a little time to catch up. Just that other area of convective activity off towards the east, and that looks like it might be striking Louisiana, associated with Harvey in a few hours, sort of like an offshoot band there that's heading off towards the north and northeast. Could provide quite a bit of rain over there before the rest of the storm arrives in a few days. Ironically, the cloud tops in that little storm cell there are actually higher than the cloud tops in Harvey's eye wall.
That's really interesting.
And there's the progression of the animation as well. You can see it all occurring.
Particularly the cloud tops are like making a ring, but not precisely in the eye. So, well, I never saw this before.
We'll come back to that imagery again in maybe later in the hour. Let's go back now, if we can, to the radar. We don't have that just yet. Back to the radar now, and I do say it's slowing down. It looks like it's slowing down.
That's not good at all. And I say not good because the storm hasn't
And a tornado
hasn't
warning, by
showed-
the way, that was issued 4 minutes ago for southeastern Wharton County, southwestern Brazoria County, and northeastern Matagorda County in southeastern Texas. Another tornado warning, that's something like the 5th or the 6th now since we were on air. They are coming in thick and fast, and the extreme wind warning, if it wasn't obvious enough, in effect for that area where the storms are expected to make landfall.
Well, after having some evidence that the storm is slowing down, and its closest point to Corpus Christi and Port O'Connor, that is about 50 miles, I think you said, right, Nathan?
Around 50 miles from each, indeed.
So that means that possibly the storm is about to make direct landfall in 5 hours, possibly.
Well, I don't know. I think
Well, just
I did
doing
think it
math,
would be
but-
sooner, obviously, but you know, it would appear to me that it's slowing down, and I don't know. This could turn bad in the next few hours, maybe.
That's right, and even more bad because the storm is not showing any sign of weakening or damaging its structure, or the eye getting weaker,
Yeah,
or
certainly not
cloud
weakening.
field as well. So at this situation, this could turn really alarming and of course pretty dangerous for the state of Texas and the residents that lives in around where the hurricane is now affecting.
And there's probably the biggest close-up you'll ever see of Harvey's eye, and a new frame just coming in there. Let's see what it looks like. There it is. Again, it appears to have slowed down markedly since we were looking at this last hour.
Yes, the last frames it's showing. Well, are showing that the storm is not moving like that fast like the last hours. The last the 2 or 3 frames shows that Harvey is slowing down.
Yeah.
And the eye gate.
Seems
Yeah,
likely.
the eye still pretty organized. Looking pretty good. So
Yeah, indeed.
practically, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask everyone if anyone has any questions to send in, we'll answer them. Though if it's about whether the storm will be retired, I won't answer you. Or I don't think it's appropriate to say whether this storm will be retired or not. But I think you should think for yourself, considering how a storm like Allison, which was a tropical storm delivering 40 inches of rain to the Texas area, can be retired. This storm, being a Category 3, maybe 4, delivering similar amounts of rain over the area, might just get retired as well. When is the next National Hurricane Center update? Well, they're updating every hour now. The next update, the next proper, all they're doing at the moment is position updates on the hour, but sometimes they do update the intensity because of reconnaissance flights. The next update will be at the top of the hour, of course, but the next update that we expect, something bigger perhaps, will be in another hour and a half. That's when they do the intermediate advisory, and then at 3 AM UTC will be the next full advisory from the National Hurricane Center, when they update their forecast cone and their actual forecast. Here's a question. Can you think of a reason why the National Hurricane Center didn't predict the Gulf to blow up this storm like it did? 1 or 2 models on the periphery of the spectrum of possibility said that this type of scenario would happen, notably the NAM, the HWRF at various points, the HMON at various points. Models that were rubbished during the early stages of this system, and indeed during parts of Gert as well. In both scenarios, the HWRF and HMON in particular have been the most correct models yet again, when it seemed as though they were the crazy models on the onset of this year. The HWRF had a very good year last year, to the point where we elevated to almost a godly state in 2016, and it did fairly well throughout the Southern Hemisphere season as well, coming into 2017. Didn't have a good start this year in the Northern Hemisphere, but it seems to have done better on these last two storms in the Atlantic. But there you go.
Yeah, right now the season overall in the Northern Hemisphere has been pretty below normal, I would say, and possibly it's this inactivity will introduce in more dangerous and more intense storms in the next few months. Possibly, I don't. Of course, nothing is confirmed and sure, but sometimes when there's no storm forming, when a storm is not forming, the energy accumulates, and then after that accumulation of energy, storm will form, and it will absorb all the energy that has been accumulated, and of course having the potential to be a significant storm. But it's not always in the cases. Of course, it depends as well with the environment conditions, the El Nino and La Nina natural phenomena, that is La Nina and La Nina factor. Of course, there are a lot of things that can make this event so difficult sometimes to predict. But right now, the Northwest Pacific Basin, the Eastern Pacific Basin, has they haven't been so that active. Of course, in the Northwest Pacific is pretty evident, even that we saw 8 or 9 named storms in July, but most of them were pretty weak. Only Nor was the only important one. But yeah, maybe we could see something important in the near future if this trend continues.
Again, if you've got anything to ask us while we're here, I'm just going to be gathering some more information over the next few minutes. We are doing this without any breaks at the moment because of the clear severity of the situation. So at this point I'll just be remaining quiet for a moment or two, and I don't know if anyone else in the room would like to say anything for a moment or two.
Well, I'd just like to say that if any of our viewers on the coastline of Texas and are under either tropical storm or hurricane warnings, right now for the people that are, if any of our viewers are on the shore right now and they're in their houses or wherever, please hunker down. Don't try driving in this because it's only going to get worse, and if you haven't evacuated already, it's basically too late for you guys. But the best thing you can do for now is just hunker down, get ready, and stay safe. Hopefully you found some sort of shelter during the time being. If you didn't, as I said before, just hunker down. Hopefully everything will be safe, but expect damages, and for some you might be less fortunate. For others, this might work out for you. You might make it. but it's going to be a big disaster.
And it continues beyond just tonight, and it's anticipated major hurricane landfall, but beyond that it's going to be a huge rainmaker like not many others in the past, and it's going to be over the area. The National Hurricane Center on their map, as you can see, think that the storm will be a hurricane still in around 24 hours, and will remain as a significant tropical storm until Sunday, into Monday even, and then it will move offshore and back into land again. And it's not moving very much over the course of a whole 5-day period. This is something that is much worse than what was already a bad situation from the outset.
Yeah, it's something really concerning, taking the fact that the state of Texas and possibly the entire country, United States, haven't received this type of natural disaster since a long time ago. So practically, this hurricane Harvey, it's like I don't know how to say it, but it's like
basically
metaphoric.
Brett and Allison put together.
Yeah.
Only Brett in 1999 was a bit smaller, I think, and was further south and affected a much less populated area.
Yeah, and of course the damages weren't that high. Only $3 million dollars in damages, if I'm not wrong. And well, yeah, Brett of 1999 didn't cause a lot of damage, lots of damages, and as well of victims. But Harvey maybe is a different situation, even more if the people weren't that prepared to receive this kind of phenomena that hasn't been there since 2005, and well, in the entire country, and since 2008 from Ike.
And just that more tornado warnings were issued recently. At 5:31, 5 minutes ago, a tornado warning was issued for East Central Wharton County, Southwestern Fort Bend County, West Central Brazoria County, Northeastern Matagorda County. Same places again. Take cover now, as you should probably already be. And at 5:33, the tornado warning for Southeastern Wharton, West Central Brazoria, and North Central Matagorda counties remained in effect until Q2, so another 10 minutes there. Take cover in all of those areas immediately. And the extreme wind warning is still in effect in the area as well. I'll have more imagery shortly whilst I continue to work with a few things over here. And now we might be able to take a look at the latest visible imagery.
And of course there are some tornado watches, because there's the possibility as well that tornadoes can span while Harvey is still getting closer and closer to the state of Texas. The tornado watches as well are up for Goliath, Jefferson, Brazoria, Refugio, Jackson, Wharton, Harris, Victoria, Galveston, Calhoun, Matagorda, Aransas, Fort Bend, and Chambers are the current counties that has as well tornado watches for the possibility of this that they can see tornadoes planning in these places.
And again, this latest radar imagery, the storm has halved its speed in forward motion here.
Practically the most dangerous part of the storm is practically getting inside of Corpus Christi. So I must say that practically
If we really zoom in, you can see that the inner eye wall, the red areas there, is still not reached the coast yet, but it's getting pretty close. And that is the worst part of the storm right there. And at the moment it looks like it will get there in about half an hour to an hour, but if it continues to slow down, will it get there at all?
If the storm slows down while the eye isn't getting there inside of the state, this will be a tremendous situation for Corpus Christi and
the areas nearby,
and the areas involved as well, because the most dangerous part of the storm will take over there, and of course this will signify more rain, more high winds, and the flooding will be pretty much possible in the next hours, and even having the presence of the flooding even more sooner than expected if the storm slows down. And of course is not losing its structure, so this is another alarming situation as well.
Let's take another look at this imagery. There it is again in recent frames on the infrared plus visible hybrid here. That just keeps improving, Cesar.
That's impressive.
Let's see if we can get the latest.
Believe.
Let's see if we can get the latest eye temperature then, and see if the eye temperature has increased at all. The maximum that we saw during the storm, I mean, an hour or two ago, it was around 14. It's 14 again now. Now I don't know if there's any little areas in there that might have higher than 14 Celsius. That area there, again 14. So this storm, considering that the cloud tops are better than what they were when we first saw it at 14 Celsius, I would say it's stronger than it was earlier, and on that basis you got to upgrade this to a Category 4. The National Hurricane Center I think ought to, but they probably won't until another hour passes, because I don't think there's reconnaissance aircraft backing that indication on satellite. But I reckon this is a Category 4 storm with 130 mile/hour winds.
Yeah, I'm pretty agree with that. The storm is looking even better. The eye is completely clear. The cloud tops are getting cooler as well. Not around the eye, but the structure itself of the storm is getting more cooler. That means the storm is more intense as well, and it's not losing its structure. It's pretty well defined. I mean, this is something really incredible to see. This is history, of course. This is going to be in history books, really, because this situation is something that we haven't seen in many years. Of course, Matthew was pretty close, but it was pretty much weaker, and it was practically weakening while traveling in Florida. But Harvey is still intensifying, even that is practically over Texas, when the storm of course cannot intensify further because it's land interaction. But I don't know how Harvey is still managing to...
Well, the storm belies that point just now, because the western eye wall is stronger than ever.
That's right, and this is the most concerning part of this situation, because the rain and the winds are pretty more stronger than before, and it will slow down as well as it keeps moving inside of the state of Texas. So the rain will not stop at least in the next 48 to 72 hours.
But if this thing
Or
stalls right
probably-
now, what do we do? Where does this thing go next?
That's a pretty important question, because we don't know if the
Because
storm
it
will
looks
keep
to me as
moving.
though it's stalling right now. And I don't know if anyone could, again, we saw it very briefly earlier on one of the screen shares where you have the NOAA floaters that also has the projected track overlaid on it, and how well it's doing compared to what the forecast was. I saw it was going a little bit east of the track, but I'm also curious to see whether it's going slower than what the National Hurricane Center predicted as well. But I'm not sure if anyone has that imagery.
Coming back to the recent comment you said about if Harvey right now stalls, it's a pretty interesting question, because let's assume that Harvey stalls but without making landfall. Then it will turn. Then it's possible that made a U-turn now to the northeast, like the prediction says. So that means it could be even more dangerous for the state of Texas, because it will cover more area of rain, so more flooding as well could occur.
I just can't think of where it would go if it stalls offshore. Is it gonna? There's even the possibility it could loop south before moving east. You know.
Exactly. Or well, possibly enter to Louisiana, even as a significant hurricane as well. Of course,
Doubt it.
But of course, we don't know what will gonna happen next. The erratic tracks is really difficult to forecast, and Harvey will have an erratic one when it stalls. So this is something that really deserves to keep a pretty close eye to this, because Harvey is not stopping. It's keeping intensifying, even that is practically when the eye wall is getting close, really close to Corpus Christi.
Let's go back to the radar imagery, the latest right now, and you know it supports what we're looking at. Satellite still moving northwest, but this isn't good news for anyone in that area. But that's the latest, and the National Hurricane Center will have another position estimate in around 15 minutes or less, just a bit less. I'll be here for another hour beyond that before I hand over to David, who will be running the stream for however long he sees fit afterwards. But for the time being, we're just watching this basically, and running out of things to say as it stalls, just as it runs out of its forward motion momentum, but certainly not its intensity. No signs of weakening, and every sign of strengthening, particularly in that western and southwestern part of the eye wall, which is the leading edge, of course.
Well, the last 2 or 3 frames showing pretty much intense eye wall, and practically touching the coast of Corpus Christi. I don't know if already
Here's the
there,
updated visible imagery as it starts to get a little bit darker over there.
This is
Now,
going to be
maybe the eye is
dangerous.
shrinking a little bit there.
And actually, it was something that I was about to tell you. Maybe the eye is maybe getting ragged in the last few frames, but I don't think that is enough to say that the storm is starting to weaken, because it has been intensifying more and more. Even that practically half of the body of the storm has been inside of the coast of Texas without weakening.
Indeed. I don't know whether Marcel would like to say anything at this juncture.
I think that I will be going to head Aransas Pass and Port Aransas very soon.
Yeah, but is it? Do you think this is gonna? I mean, at the rate it's going, I think this could stall offshore right now unless it gets another spurt on.
Well, I think it might. In honesty, I don't think it's stalling just yet, but it is definitely slowing quite dramatically.
Depends what you mean by stalling, of course, but
well, basically slowing down to an extreme degree, but
it is slowing down rapidly.
yeah. But I think the worst case scenario would be if the eye wall pushes on land before it's completely halts.
And there may well be an unlucky location here that might be under the eye wall when it decides to stop. No idea.
Yeah, and high tide is just coming up too.
Yeah, that's right. Almost, yeah, just around now, isn't it?
Sure.
Let's see if there's any more tornado warnings to tell you about right now. There were some earlier on. Yeah, 5:45, 4 minutes ago, League City issued a tornado warning for central Brazoria County in southeastern Texas. The same counties again that have these tornado warnings. Southeastern Wharton County, southwestern Fort Bend County, west central Brazoria County, north central Matagorda County. Those are all the tornado warnings that are currently in effect.
I have seen the storm on radar, and I think it has gone stationary, so it has stalled.
Not yet. The radar suggests that it's still moving probably about 5 miles an hour or so. I certainly believe that it's halved its forward motion, and the National Hurricane Center said it was 10 miles an hour at the last update, so I think we're down to about 5.
Yeah, I think I could second that.
And 5 miles an hour is pretty slow.
Yeah.
Much slower, and you could probably be in the eye the whole time if you just followed it at a walking pace. The National Hurricane Center will be doing another position update in around 9 minutes time. We'll bring that to you when that does occur. In the meantime, all we've got is what is our analysis and observations as the storm continues to evolve live, and you can help us with that endeavor and maybe point some things out that we may have missed. That's the type of constructive thing that we love to see on our streams that help out so many people. And if you've got any comments or questions for us during our tenure here, then you can send us a message here. You can also go on our social mediums, Force13 all in text on Facebook and Twitter, and you can also add Fool13 on Skype, FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord. Devon tells us that if Harvey slows to 4 miles per hour, it will be upgraded to stage 6 on the CDPS scale.
That's not good.
And let's bring us back to the visible imagery. And you know, it's slowing down. And perhaps in those latest frames there, in those last few minutes, another little flare-up occurring in the southwestern part of the eye wall. Let's see if we've got some new images that have perhaps backed that up a little bit. And you may notice off towards the northeast there too, some thunderstorms occurring and some real blow-ups, isolated blow-ups occurring not too far to the southwest down the coast from Galveston. We'll get that new imagery shortly.
I think I have a question for everybody.
Excuse me?
I think I have a question for everybody.
Hmm.
What do you think would happen if it stalls? Do you think the storm would strengthen a little bit, or will it begin
Well,
to
that's
weaken?
just the most confusing part right now. It would defy everything if it was to strengthen while stalling. I'm sure Devon would have plenty of things to say about that. It would go against most of the laws that we govern these storms by, but you know, we always have exceptions.
Yeah, that's the worst. That's my worst fear right now, if it continues.
And you know, in those latest frames there, it looks like the motion's still sort of north-northwest. The radar would sort of confirm that it's more northwest in those latest frames, and the storm is just really slowing down, and I'm quite worried about what we're going to see here in the next hour.
It might. I doubt it's not going to make landfall, but
I'm not so sure anymore looking at it.
well, it all depends.
Now, it might be something like what we often see with storms when they take a jog to the west or east or whatever direction they go and then continue their motion. It might do that. It might speed up just a little bit again, just enough to push it over the line. But I'm not seeing much evidence of that happening.
Well, this is not good. Seems like it's getting worse and worse by the minute. Jeez. Oh, eyes are perfect. Oh, man.
And we're back
It's
with
not-
the satellite imagery, and Cesar, I don't know if you have any more input on what we've been talking about there. And
Well, yeah,
potential CDPS stage 6 if it slows down to 4 miles an hour according to Devon.
I'm pretty agree with that. It's a stage 6 on the CDPS scale, because if it's stalling, if Harvey's stalling now, and of course it's not showing any signs of weakening. Actually, I think it's more strong. It's more stronger than before. Stage 6 is a pretty good category to put. Because of the danger that represents. And watching the latest visible imagery of Harvey in the Go 16,
Which is this.
the eye structure is not getting worse. I mean, looking pretty good. The inner wall
Just update this imagery
of the eye is pretty close to strike the Corpus Christi and the rest of the area marked. So, of course, this will be a really bad situation, even more than that is pretty evident that Harvey is stalling right now. I don't discard that we will see a lot of damage caused by this storm. I hope that the people, of course, have evacuated, and if some people haven't, well, hope that they are following all the criteria of security to precisely not get that affected by the storm, or at least be safe by the effects of this storm, of course.
Yeah, and what do you think of the National Hurricane Center's predicted track and that big mess that they say, loads of uncertainty? They still think it will go some extent inland by, well, it must be a good 100 miles or more. I can't see that happening given what we've started to witness in these, because that seems to be assuming on the assumption there that the 10-mile-an-hour movement will continue for a good day or so, but that's not happening here.
That's pretty alarming.
But what it does mean is that even as well as the wind, the rainfall totals will increase substantially in the area of the landfall zone, and beyond. And so the threat may not be quite as high for areas further east, maybe, if this thing does stall over here for the west, but further west it could be worse than expected as a result. Still not looking good for Texas as a whole. And the National Hurricane Center will update anytime now as we approach 11 p.m. UTC, 6 p.m. Central Time. And we will continue with uninterrupted live coverage as the